I started thinking about being closer to my 40s than I am to my 20s at this point in my life. And the reason why I'm thinking about that now is because I'm thinking about still finding my voice, right? And standing strong in using my voice in the way that I feel is authentic and is truly how I feel and who I am. And I guess the reason why I struggle with that, and I'm thinking the reason why I struggle with that is because when you're closer to your 40s than your 20s, it may be the other way around for some people, but I actually think that you have more to lose as you get older, career-wise, than you do when you're younger. When you're younger, you are trying to establish yourself and your reputation, and so it's very key to make sure not to burn bridges. For example, it's important to start to set your legacy on a good foot in terms of like outperforming or being very competitive, maybe, for example, outperforming your peers, having like a bit of career wins to put on your resume, right? To set you up to do whatever you want to do when you're older, or even retire early in some cases. But I wonder if there's also a thought around wanting to reinvent yourself in your 40s after establishing such a secure or quote-unquote secure area of work, and then being nervous that you might alienate people when you do that, and then risk losing everything, right? That you work so hard to establish once you get to this point of your career and your life. That could be said for anything, right? That could be said for relationships that you've built, so like friendships that you've built, and then being nervous about changing things up and ending up scaring people off because they're wondering, well, who is this person? I don't know this person. I'm not comfortable with this type of person. This is not what I signed up for. And I think the same thing can be said for when you want to just reinvent yourself in like any way, shape, or form. And so in this stage where I am maybe for the very first time truly finding out who I really am and figuring out my real voice, I'm also worried that the seemingly very fragile bit of a sense of security in terms of the kind of people I hope to impress, the people who I hope that want to continue to work with me, and the people who I hope to give me some legitimacy might start to back away and say, well, if you're going in this route, I don't think we can continue to work together. Without saying names, there are just some very formal institutions that have a very traditional way of presenting themselves and a way of partnering with organizations to establish a set message and get it across in a particular type of way. And it's a way that I feel is very antiquated now. I feel like it's outdated in the era of social media trends, in the era of going viral, in the era of Gen Z in particular. Millennials maybe have started it and put it on the track, but I think even we were sometimes being wary of going too far, lest we, again, set ourselves up for failure in terms of being able to rub shoulders with the right type of people. I do not think Gen Z cares about that anymore. I think they think that if one person doesn't agree with them, they'll go out and try to find somebody else who does. And the bridge doesn't even like exist in their mind. It's less of a bridge and more so of like we're crossing the water through other vehicles now. I don't know if that analogy works, right? But we're not going from one location to the next using a bridge. We're kind of like zigzagging our way back and forth across, maybe using a jet ski or something of like that nature, or we're just like figuring it out as we go. But they're not afraid of diving into the water and swimming if necessary. And I think that's the attitude that I admire to some extent. I do think there's a benefit to having some kind of couth and not just blowing up every place that you go to just because you're not happy with it or because it doesn't fit your way of kind of wanting to exist in life. But on the other hand, that type of like mentality, moving towards that kind of mentality versus the other, which is totally being like very like confined and very like self-limiting. The benefit of being the opposite of self-limiting or putting yourself in a box is that you'll probably find yourself a lot faster than others would. And then of course you can just reel it back in if you didn't already like cause too much damage. But I think it'd be better to reel it back in than to not even expose the full potential in the first place. And so when I think about where I am right now and how I want to start pushing myself out of the comfort zone that I'm in, I feel that I'm so nervous about inching my way closer and closer to where I truly want to be, that I'm going to just need a very forceful push. And that forceful push might be very jarring to the people who tend to know me one way versus another. But maybe I just have to, and I'm not going to try not to use too many analogies anymore, but maybe I just need to rip off the Band-Aid and kind of just do it and be like, listen, this is where I am. I'm ready to receive however you think you're going to react to this type of show moving forward. But I'm also not going to continue to hide. I think that's also a lesson for social activism, right? Because to some extent, when we continue to like just try to perpetuate the status quo, it's less about truly following our passion for a more equal and positive way of life for everyone. And it's more so just about selfish self-preservation, which is totally the opposite of what social activism is supposed to be about. Social activism is supposed to be about actually pushing us out of our comfort zone and realizing that those of us in our current some of us who are currently in a comfort zone is to the expense of those people who we claim we're trying to help and who we feel are being marginalized, who we feel are being treated unfairly. And so should I be willing to, I guess it's the question for myself right now, should I be willing to risk being alienated by the status quo, the powers that be, those who have been long established as the ones who tell us how and when social activism truly happens or social change should happen? Should I put myself at risk to alienate myself from them in order to truly fulfill and see the change that I want to see in the world? That sounds very convoluted, that sentence that I just said right now, or those thoughts. But essentially what I'm trying to say is that the hustler mentality in this case is by any means necessary. Well, actually, maybe not that. The hustler mentality is better means are necessary. Ooh, I think I like that. Better means are necessary, not by any means necessary. Because by any means necessary implies that if I have to fit into this cookie cutter point of view that is currently the way that people are saying we need to do it, then I'll just do it because I just want to at least seem as if I'm someone who's doing something good, who's moving in this direction of doing something positive in the field of social activism. And better means necessary means true activism, which is truly doing the thing that is better because we actually want to eradicate this thing once and for all. That's it for now. If I think of more, I'll talk.